Vinaka, bulan-bulan Vinaka. Vinaka na siya mamay. Limbula, sebelum ikan tahu. Vinaka. Nimbula Vinaka na sema tiko mai wakambula sartika nene no kandavu langa tiko na serea na liwabi na tokalau langa to apu kuki na lawa kau main na YouTube channel ne Big Shark mbula saya na yadang go Big Shark wabi Vinaka chaka ni vikim ni ken sara na sema tiko mai na kabini kuwa singa moniti na ika vitu ni singa ni bulo tune na be moniti keve endo ndrontingi teki tiku mai sona nondo bulangi mer mai wase tiku sona non Veitalanoa na i wata-watango sampai ka bikem ni na watarong na tapu ne langakina na serengo kei kandamu ia and na rongo serenga na non Veitalanoa na nondo bulangi na mai Veitalanoa tiku biken na sigani ko endo na marama sem sartiku me Australia kan do da kama sartiku na nona venga rabi ni daka baka buli na yano kandamu da babi ni Vinaka sartiku bikoe na sigi Vinaka ni ko minta baka mbula sarwa mbula Vinaka Fiona. Thank you so much for coming on to this program.
Bula Vinaka Teresi and Bula Vinaka to all the audience and Savakia to the audience as well. I only know some words and some phrases in Kindavu dialect, but I do know that. And Vinaka vakalevu for having me.
So Vinaka for agreeing to the invitation for you to come on this program and to share some amazing work that you've been doing for a number of years in Fiji. And of course, you've been spending a lot of time on my island in Kandavu, hence the song that was chosen for us to listen to introduce us to this Talanoa program on Monday, June the 7th in Fiji. This time it's still Sunday here in Hawaii. It's June the 6th. Here in Hawaii. So welcome again, Fiona Vinaka for joining us today. And I know there are some teachers who are looking forward to our Talanoa today, and we welcome all the teachers that are listening in today from different parts of Fiji, and especially the places where Fiona has traveled to. So we will come to that. But first of all, if we can ask you, Fiona, just to introduce yourself to the audience, just to share a little bit about your family, your career, and your upbringing in Australia, and then also your connection to Fiji. Go ahead, Fiona.
Vinaka, for that very warm welcome, Teresi, and Bula Vinaka again to the audience. So my name is Fiona Luth. I'm 47. I live in Melbourne, Australia. I have 3 children. I have Holly in year 12. I have Sam in year 9, and I have Clementine who's in grade 2. And I have Daniel, who I'm married to. And they've all been to Fiji. They've all been to Kandavu quite a few times. Before I started this charity, I was an English teacher. So literacy is my area of expertise and my passion. In a more general sense, education, and if you stretch it out even further, I guess social justice. In terms of, you know, one of my core beliefs is that all human beings, whether we're black, white, Christian, Muslim, gay, straight, whatever we are, we're all equal. We all deserve an equal go at life, and the way that I can contribute to that is through education and specifically literacy. That's a little bit about me. I mean, I like to keep fit and healthy. It's a little bit hard in lockdown because one does feel like eating a few sugary treats and we can't go outside too much and do exercise, but I like to do that. I really like adventure. And as you, especially your Kandavu listeners will know, or any listeners from Thithia, or the interior of Namosi or Natasiri, Fiji has a lot of places where you can very easily have an adventure just by going from A to B. It's an adventure to get there. And that's something I really enjoy. I've had amazing adventures in Kandavu, in the mainland and whatever. I have very, very strong connections in Fiji. Actually, I feel, yes, everyone, you can't tell, this is not a good camera. I'm a Kevalangi, but actually you can't see my heart, but there's a Fijian flag right on my heart, and there's a Kandavu parrot just to the left of that. So, and maybe a Kandavu mare. But I know I love that Kandavu mare. Sorry, not a Nandronga horse. Yeah, so my heart beats very, very strongly for Fiji and the Fijian people. I think the Fijian people are the country's best asset, and the country has a lot of natural assets and a lot of natural beauty, but there are a lot of beautiful places in the world, but the Fijian people to me are incredible. And I've thought about that a lot, and I've spoken to Teresi about this a little bit, about why is that so? And I think it's a combination of many factors, but if I was to break it down really simply, I think it's a factor of village life, communal living, so people have to collaborate and help each other. And I think it's also your country has enough food, so no one, okay, it's a little bit different at the moment, but on the whole, people have the very, very basics in life. Even if they don't have much, they have the basics. And then I also think it's very strong Christianity and Christian values. So, I mean, to me, Fijian people, Maleka, I love them very much. There's some particularly Fijian traits which I really love. Like, I know if I'm going around anywhere, whether it be Thithia, whether it be the highlands of Natasiri, whether it be Kandavu, I can have a cup of tea at pretty much anyone's house. I could use their toilet. If I was breastfeeding my baby, I could go into their house and say, Keti Keti, can I breastfeed my baby? People are very hospitable and accommodating. And they're kind. I guess that's, people are kind in Fiji, and they're kind to each other. And to overseas people, that kindness and that relaxed manner is just hugely attractive. And people are warm in their interactions with you. Like, they will smile at you. Their smile will show their teeth in their eyes. You know, they will hug and kiss easily. I mean, Fijian people are Vinaka. So that's a little bit about me. Teresi, did you want to know, like, explain my connection to Fiji, or?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, because, you know, you've mentioned the different places where, you know, where you have traveled. And I really also like the fact that you introduced your family, because I know with the amazing work that you have done in Fiji over these years and your travel over to Fiji, you've had your family, you know, supporting you as well. So thank you for acknowledging your husband and your children. So yes, definitely. Explain a little bit about your connection to Fiji.
So I first went to Fiji, I think it was in 2012. It was after the passing of my second parent. I was 37. And I went to Kendavu, which I hadn't heard of before. Kendavu, although to Fijians, you know, it's the fourth biggest island, everyone knows Kendavu, but maybe to most people who are not from Fiji, it's not necessarily the first place they would go for a holiday. But my husband organised it. We stayed at a resort called Papageno Resort, which is kind of in the middle of Kendavu. And I really needed some rest and relaxation after the passing of my mother. My connection to Fiji really was instantaneous. So we didn't know anyone there, but we did meet someone working at the resort, an amazing lady by the name of Lavinia Tamani, who's now our operations manager. And it was really through her, and knowing the staff at the resort, and then through the work that we're doing, that we just got to know so many Fijians. I mean, in Kendavu, when we're going around to villages, it's easier for people to know me. And sometimes so many people say Bulla to me, and I don't even know who they are, because, you know, it's hard for me to remember everyone's names. But that's really how the connection to Fiji started. It started on that very first holiday, about 10 years ago. And I mean, it is literally, I think I actually refer to this charity as my fourth child. And like, I wake in the night and I'm thinking, I need to do this for the charity. I need to do that. I need to thank this person. Like, I'm completely consumed with what I'm doing. I don't take a wage for this. That's not to say that I wouldn't like one. We're just not in that situation yet. But I came to start the charity because I was actually standing in the sea outside Papageno Resort in Kendavu. I saw this incredible view of the palm trees, a little bit like Teresi's background there on the screen, palm trees swaying in the breeze, sort of some Kendavu hills, very green in the background. And I had, so Fijians might say God spoke to me, and I had a flash of inspiration where I said, I really want to do something positive that helps a lot of people. That was probably a 1-second thought. Then I went to, I'm not sure what time frame, within a few days, I went and visited Vunasei District School, which is in Kendavu, primary school of about 80. It was a school closest to the resort where I was staying. And honestly, the state of their library books, I will be frank here, and apologies to the Fijian audience, but the state of the library books was pitiful. It was not good. Most Fiji, in fact, all Fijians listening to this now know the desperate need for quality library books in Fijian schools. So I identified that need. I carried that thought with me back to Australia, and I had a conversation with a friend who was became a founding board member, and her name is Laura Hahn, and her husband very kindly freighted. So I collected books in Australia, and they freighted those goods for free for 4 years. And that really got me, that really got me started. So to date, we've sent over 190,000 books to Fiji. there's a group from Washington, DC of Fijians that send more books, but we send the most library collections. So what we send is a library collection for each school. So 300 reference books, 300 picture books. And we ask them, what do you want more of? And nearly every school in Fiji says easy readers. We send them big books, educational posters. We send kindergarten supplies. It's all donated. About 90% of it is very gently used. So that means secondhand, but in good condition. And then we do have some publishers that donate brand new. We've helped over 103 schools in Fiji and 33 kindergartens. So we're pretty big for you know, it's basically me, one marama working at home on her mobile phone. But we've got some amazing people getting on board. We've got a new board member, which I'm really excited about. And, you know, we have the blessing of Fiji Library Services and the education officials in Fiji. So it's wonderful. And we do this to boost literacy and to hook kids into reading in Fiji. So we're not just a book delivery service. So we talk about literacy boosting behaviours, and we do it as a talanoa. I mean, I'm very conscious I'm a white person going into a predominantly, you know, a country with people of colour. So I don't want to be another person from a developed country going in being an expert. We have it as a talanoa, and the teachers explain to me the obstacles they face and the difficulties. And then, you know, quite often we're able to give some ideas. I say, what about a book corner? Could you get the ladies in the village to make some cushions, make it attractive for the children? So we really try to, and we tailor it according to each school. So for example, a tiny school like Naloa Primary School in Kindavu, that's a school, last time I visited it was 28 students. If we give them more than 750 books, they can't cope with that. They don't have a teacher librarian. You have to give them what they can deal with and what they can cope with. So we very much try to do that. The literacy in Kindavu has been improving, and we get feedback cards from the teachers on that. Usually there's like an immediate improvement, and then it happens basically over 3 years. There's some real examples of excellence, like Navakandi School in Kindavu. That's quite a small school. I think it's got about 40 or 50 students from memory. It's about 3 classrooms. And they went, I think, from the lowest group in literacy, according to the categories set out by the Education Department, to the highest category since they had the library books. So you know, the teachers, and it's not just Kindavu that we've helped all the schools on Thivia. This time, once we'll have helped the 2 schools on Motoriki. We've helped lots of schools in the mainland. And in fact, the very first school we helped was in Veitalanoa. So we do, I'm aware after this, so many teachers are going to send me requests to help their schools. Keri Keri Mino requests. Because we have to work hand in hand with Fiji Library Service and the government, and we have to go area by area. Basically, every school in Fiji, apart from maybe the international school and maybe Suva Grammar School, needs more books. I'm so aware of that. We have to go systematically area by area. So the areas that we want to help next, and keeping in mind to do our job properly, we have to give top-up donations, if not every year, every second year. So, for example, we want to help Lavinia surveyed schools in the highlands of Natasiri about 2 months ago. She swam through the Wainimala River. She rode a horse, and then she hiked up to see these schools. And those schools really, really, really need books. So Natasiri is on our hit list, and Fiji Library Service asked us to look at the islands in the north up near Veitalanoa.
Yeah.
And they're quite underdeveloped. So that, and then on top of all of that, you know, next shipment, we have to do top-up donations to schools in the mainland and whatever. So it's, you know, we're not God. We're just a whole bunch of people trying their very best to help the kids of Fiji. And also it helps the teachers enormously. So
I've got a request here from Benga. Domeke Delana, Vinaka Kai, Domeke is saying, please, can you please come to Benga? So don't worry, Benga. Fiona and her team will come to Benga.
In time.
Vinaka. And I'm really happy you mentioned there, Fiona, about the support that you have to work alongside the Fiji Library services. And that is Merawalesi Lalingavoka. I think at this time we'd like to acknowledge her and the work of her team. Yeah, in Suva. Their office is in Suva, but they cover the whole of Fiji. So it's really wonderful there, Fiona, that you're working alongside them. And yeah, I was just also going to ask you to, with your travel to Divia, to Kandavu, Vanolevu, also in some places in Vitilevu, Namosineta, Siri, what has been the response so far from even the local Fijians?
So I have to start this by saying Fijians quite possibly might be the best people in the world at saying Vinaka vakalevu. Fijians are the most appreciative, thankful people I think you could ever meet. And I could not do this work for no wage. And believe me, there are many, many hard things, so many hard things, if the people were not grateful. The people are so grateful. The response varies from anything to extraordinary, and it makes me cry and feel emotional, to sort of like thankful. But I mean, Fijians, like I said previously, are their best advertisement, their own best they are so good at saying Vinaka. And even if they have said Vinaka so many times in conversation, they'll just say Naka or And so the response is amazing, and that spurs me on, but not just adults, not just teachers, not just parents and villagers, children. So when I go and speak in classrooms, the children quite often break into spontaneous applause. And it's not the teachers saying, like one of the phrases they use in Fiji, let's show our appreciation in the usual manner. That's a very Fijian phrase. It's often the children just break into spontaneous applause.
Right.
And especially when I explain to the children about the volunteers, like it's over 100 volunteers on average that sort and pack these books. Like it is a massive job. We did it this year over 4 days. Usually we do it over 6 days. It is incredibly hard work, working for 6 to 8 hours, carrying heavy boxes of books in dusty, cold warehouses. Maybe the toilet doesn't flush properly. It's not, there's nothing comfortable about it. Sometimes people are sitting on a flat cardboard box on the floor. They bring their own food, bring their own lunch, and they want to do it because they want to help kids in another part of the world have an opportunity to know the joy of reading.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's actually an incredible experience, Teresi, and your audience. It's I almost think of it as collective love that goes into every box of books. It's like everyone gives a bit of kindness and puts it in the box. And when I explain that to forgive my pronunciation, Nangone, very bad pronunciation, children, they often break into spontaneous applause because sometimes they say to me, oh, madam, do you have a book factory? Are you a millionaire? I say, I do not have a book factory. I am not a millionaire. I spend my whole life getting these books and getting them donated. And then a lot of people come and pack and give up their time. And they say, oh, but how does it come? I say it comes by ship and people donate money to pay for the freighting of that. So often these kids, it makes them feel very cared for and acknowledged and noticed by people they'll never meet. And I think it's really important they understand that process rather than going, here's the free gift, Mothe, is understanding the connection between one group of humans in Melbourne who sort and pack the books, all the librarians who drop off, and then the kids and the teachers and the parents in Fiji. It's like a whole lot of collective goodwill
Mm.
to help these kids. And often when I see, I see the maramas up the back of the classroom fanning themselves, and they're nodding their head and they're saying naka, naka, naka. And I think it's really good for people to experience kindness from somewhere where they don't expect it.
That's right.
It makes them
That
feel
gratitude,
happy. It makes
that
people feel
deep
cared for.
gratitude. Yeah.
So the response is pretty amazing. In fact, I often, Lavinia says to me, no, boss, you can't say no when they're offering me pie for the 5th time in a row. I can't eat 5 pieces of pie in one day. I will get level stomach. So, or diabetes. So sometimes I have to get her to say, keri, mino pie, mino, nothing, just some coconut water, because people are so hospitable and everyone puts on food. I've now learned just to say, oh, please, because I can't eat it all and now I don't want to waste it. No,
That's
people
so
are very,
nice.
very, the response is amazing. Amazing. I mean, I've got beautiful Fijian mats that say Vinaka, vakalevu, Fiona, madam, weaved into the mat, handbags. The response is incredible.
It's really nice too that, you mentioned that not only just the books, but you also have support for the teachers, and it's really nice. And even for the mothers, where you mentioned that you're using the Talanoa methodology, where you are also encouraging the mothers to come from the village and make cushions and make art or make a book corner for the school. That's really nice. And I think I have to say that, that is very inclusive of this project, the Fiji Book Drive. So for those of you who are just joining us for the very first time, this is Fiona Luth, and she's connecting in from Australia, and she is the CEO and founder of Fiji Book Drive. And they also have a Facebook page and Instagram. They're also on social media, but it's just wonderful that she uses her time and energy, and through the volunteer network she's received over so many years now. Many of our libraries in Fiji, have got new books or revised versions of things that are being replenished over the years. So I think at this point too, we want to say Vinaka vakalevu to you, Fiona, for being so dedicated to do this for all of us, because it's benefiting a lot of families back home, Fiona. So maybe I was going to ask you as well, for all the positive responses and all the beautiful pie and keke that they give you. But remember too, when you have a level stomach, that's a good sign. That means you're happy.
Yeah, but yeah, okay. Yeah, but it doesn't look good on me.
So my question is, it has been some positive responses you've had. What has been some challenges that you faced?
Oh, so many. Teresi,
Maybe
where do I
identify
start?
just two top two and then how you overcome them. Because I know challenges will continue to come, but maybe two that you face and how you were able to surpass them while you were in Fiji, or you found the solution when you returned to Australia.
So I think the two most recent ones that come to mind, we're currently working through them both now. So one is with this pandemic. So all your listeners would know Suva's in a semi-lockdown at the moment. So what that means is, so normally there's a 120-foot container and 9 pallets in Wailakutu in the Williams and Gosling warehouse, but the teachers can't come and collect there. So we've had to pay extra money. It will be put on a truck and go to the Fijian Teachers Association in Nolly Street to be collected. Now, I have been there. They don't have a warehouse, so I'm not sure how it's going to be very awkward. Teachers, like, what happens if their books are right up the back of the container? Everything will have to be pulled out. Then it might have to be put inside the Fijian Teachers Association. So that is one thing we're currently working through. And also in biosecurity, I think there was only one person working, and a lot of customs officials were working from home. And everybody knows the network in Fiji is patchy. So everything was just so slow. So that's a challenge we're working through at the moment. I mean, probably the hardest challenge we faced was we lost our storage partners in December, and that was personally devastating to me. It was unexpected, and they had 30 stores across Victoria, and they would store the goods. They did it for free and then centralize it to a warehouse. So to run a book charity, you absolutely need storage. So we're working our way through that. We've got a few nibbles and we're coming to a solution, but that was never going to be a quick fix. And honestly, that was so devastating to me when we lost the storage. It took me a month to collect myself and walk on and have a holiday, because I was just like, whoa, this charity could crumble. So I guess that's two of the challenges.
Was losing the storage to do with the pandemic?
No. I mean, this is alive, and so I have to speak carefully. No, it's cost cutting.
I see. Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, but to be honest, Teresi, there are so many challenges we face. I think sometimes when people hear about them, they're astonished. I mean, even just like an example of just an everyday challenge in, say, Kendavu is, going to visit Nadeva school. Now, that's the hardest school to get to in Kendavu. For me to get there, you have to walk past Vunusei District School, then you walk down a very, very steep, very sticky, muddy track that even a four-wheel drive could not go down. You have to go barefoot. Then you're on the other side of Kendavu, then a boat is waiting for you in the mangroves, and then you go around by boat to the mangroves. Now, if it's low tide, when you hop out of the boat, there's that black sticky mud. So you have to wade through the black sticky mud that's like quicksand to get to the bank, walk past the pig pen, wash your legs and everything off before you visit the school. Oh, it might be raining as well, so you're soaking wet. Then you have to crawl up a muddy path. I can't even walk. Like, you are crawling like a dog up a path to get to this school. What you really want at that point in time is the world's hottest shower, and you're not going to get it. You will get a hot cup of tea. I mean, that's just one example. Or, you could be in the boat and you're just going up and down and up and down. It's jolting your back. There are many challenges, Teresi.
So going through those challenges and, still continuing, even though you're facing those challenges. I know your list of challenges is quite long, but it's really admirable to still see your smiling face and your dedication to keep going. What is something that motivates you? What is the main answer if somebody asks you, Fiona, why are you doing this? What would be your answer?
It's a really interesting question. I do ask myself that. I think the desire to do something that helps a lot of people in my life. So to have a meaningful life for me means to help a lot of people. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to stitch up women post-birth, but I am an English teacher, and I do have a very good understanding of Fiji and Fijian education. So the desire to do the best possible job to help as many people as possible. Where does that drive come from? I don't really know. I think maybe I might be slightly obsessive. I'm not sure. I think I'm very determined.
Yes.
I think I'm very determined.
Absolutely. That's actually a really, really good quality. I've been receiving a lot of amazing messages coming through, particularly from teachers who have had, some of them may have met you before. So Vinaka vakalevu vikimnikeda na vakumbuluchumebe Fiona. So it's really encouraging to see the gratefulness and the appreciation. And many of them, Fiona, really appreciate your dedication and that determination. And I think that determination is what differentiates you from many other people. So we just want to say Vinaka vakalevu to you and your amazing volunteers, because without you, your dedication and vision, you wouldn't have all the support so that our children in the remote parts of Fiji can have access to high quality books that a child in Sydney or Melbourne or New York or London can be holding in their hands. So that is something that we are just appreciative about, Fiona.
Vinaka.
Yeah.
Well, I love Fijians. So do you know what, Teresi? This is how determined I am. I once thought to myself, what would I do if my legs couldn't walk anymore, but I still wanted to keep doing this job? And I thought to myself, well, there's a lot of strong men who have played rugby in Fiji in the villages. They could just carry me around and I'll keep on doing the work with no legs. That's
sure
how determined I am.
There will be lots of volunteers for that part, and I'm sure there'll be lots from Kandavu, because a lot of Kandavu men are very strong. So Vinaka vakalevu for that, Fiona.
Oh, wow.
We will volunteer for you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but Teresi, I better not get the level thombo, otherwise they won't volunteer.
So stay away from the pie, keep eating the coconut flesh and the coconut juice, because that will make you keep looking slim as always. Yeah, Vinaka vakalevu. So we've got a few people from Yasawa, Bula Vinaka Tauchani Tingali. So he's very happy that you're going to Kandavu. So that's one big thumbs up from him. But I'm sure you'll definitely think of the schools in Yasawa as well. But I know the Yasawa schools are well looked after by many of the visitors that go over there too. But yeah, the dedication you have, particularly describing how you have to climb up that hill, and also for, is it Makareta? For climbing the mountains and going on horseback. Can you just talk a little bit about that? How she ended up doing that? Is it Lavinia?
Yeah, Lavinia. Lavinia ended up doing that because basically we knew that, everywhere in Fiji needs more books, quite frankly, but we knew there are some areas that need the help more. The more difficult the area is to reach, especially if you have to stop going by car, the more it needs assistance as a rule.
Wow.
And so she was talking to someone she knew who used to be a teacher in Kandavu, who now works for the Fiji Cancer Society. And keep in mind, we get these requests all the time. And she said, please just come and survey these schools where I come from in Natasiri. So Lavinia said, because I have to pay her, of course, every time she does that, can I do that? And I said yes, and she went on the bus with the Fiji Cancer Society, who were making a special trip to visit the part of Natasiri where it was. So she had to, and Lavinia, by the way, is very strong. So she's actually got calf muscles like a cyclist, and that I think is because she has grown up walking barefoot, but not just that, going from rock to rock. So always flexing her calf muscles. So she's a very good walker.
Wow.
And so Lavinia, and she's strong as well. She's got very strong feet and strong legs. So, and she's also, she's not afraid. Sometimes in the boat, she's a tiny bit afraid, but not, she's adventurous and she likes seeing different places. Wow. So she went on this Fiji Cancer Society bus. And then they had to swim through the Wainimala River. So she was holding like 24 hours worth of luggage above her head. Wow. Then she went on a horse, which I think she found, she was a little bit nervous of the horse because she didn't grow up riding a horse. Yeah. And I just said to her, don't worry about the horse. Just if you're scared, the horse gets scared. Just try to be calm.
Yes.
And then she hiked up to see 3 of the schools. And one of the schools was up even higher than these 3 schools. It was interesting. The principal came down to see her. Wow. So that tells you how difficult it is to get to some of these schools, like really difficult. And these are the schools where the kids really, really need these books. And to me, that jumps out at me, because just because these kids, their parents are farmers or whatever they're doing, these are the kids that should, the kids that really, really need the books. They need to have their minds open to worlds outside their own. They need to have, it helps them dream about what they could be. They might want to be a pilot. They might want to be a boat driver, a teacher. So books open up their mind to that. And also it's a wonderful, enjoyable, lifelong activity, and you keep on learning. So that's why she went to those schools. She said she was actually very emotional when she saw the condition of some of the schools. And she said she just thought to herself, so Lavinia's from Kandavu originally, she thought to herself, wow, those Kandavu schools are so, so lucky. And they are lucky, the Kandavu schools and the Thithia schools. But that's what we, and the schools in the mainland we've helped. We want all the schools we help to be lucky. That's what we want. That means we're doing our job properly.
Yes.
So,
Absolutely.
I mean, I really feel a great deal of empathy when people, I mean, I think childhood in Fiji, I've thought about this a lot. Which is better, childhood in Australia or childhood in Fiji? Well, mostly, I actually think childhood in Fiji, it's more fun, it's more free, but the only problem is if your parents, if you have a learning difficulty or a health problem, then it's a real problem. So
no, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. So, and I think in these remote areas, that's the problem with poverty is that people can't fulfill their potential. You know, talent's universal, whether you go to the poshest school in England or Australia, or you go to Queen Victoria School in Fiji or whatever, you can, talent doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. Everyone should be able to fulfill their talents, and education is the way that I see is the key to harness that.
Absolutely. That's actually a very good point that you mentioned that, you know, when you're comparing childhoods, you know, in different places. And I think many of us who are listening right now, listening to our conversation, many of our friends connecting in, we remember our upbringing and our childhood, which is exactly the ones you've experienced. Many of us living overseas, many of us know going to schools and only have a few books in the library, but we had the yearning to learn more. And when we see more books coming in, we really, really appreciate it. Even for me, Fiona, learning more about you and the Fiji book drive really made me think as to how did those books end up in the library in Nambour Primary School? Now I'm thinking back. How did the books came to Nambour Secondary School? How did those books arrived at Andi Nakumbau School? So to me, you really opened up that opportunity for us to see a lot of dedicated individuals just like you. And we're so grateful because many of those books, right, allowed us to imagine what the world will be like for many of us. And reading is such a wonderful method of seeing the world. So to you and Lavinia, and seeing the pictures of Lavinia, you know, going across, you know, the rivers and swimming across, holding a plastic bag above her head, and also a picture of her on horseback. That was really, really touching and really admirable. So if Lavinia is listening, we just want to say Vinaka vakalevu to Lavinia for her dedication to go with the Fiji Cancer Society to fulfill what your Fiji book drive wants to do, Fiona.
Vinaka. Yeah, Lavinia would really appreciate that. She, I mean, it is a privilege to travel around Fiji. There's a lot of variety in Fiji. Like, you know, there's people living, you know, in the Bukliavira, in Kandavu, or there's people living in the highlands of Natasiri, or there's people living in Suva. You know, you could be Indo-Fijian, you could be Hindu, you could be Muslim, you could be Methodist. Like there's a whole wealth of experiences to be had in just by traveling around Fiji.
Fiona. Now, in the last couple of days, or maybe a week or so as well, I've been following this group of teachers in Fiji called the Read to Succeed. And I've just really been moved by the efforts put forward by teachers themselves, wanting to reach out to kids, especially during this lockdown period in Fiji. And it's so admirable to see their dedication, starting from early childhood and all the way up to the higher grades. And one thing I've seen, Fiona, is a lot of these teachers are making their own resources to complement or supplement, the books that you are giving. I remember you and I had some talanoa a few months back about Fijian language books or books that are written by Fijian authors. What is your vision and your plans for encouraging more Fijian books to be written by Fijian authors for our Fijian children?
Well, I think you have to start with literacy. And I mean, basically by what I'm doing, getting more kids to be readers. To be a writer, first of all, you have to be a reader. So getting more Fijian kids reading and writing. You have in the Fijian education system Book Week, which I love Book Week. And I'm actually often going around visiting schools at that time. I think that's a great promotion. I think, Teresi, it will, as more and more kids begin to love books and be confident writing, then more Fijians will become authors. But as you know, Anna from Twinnies and I produced a book together, which you've translated into an animation. Now, that's an idea I've had in my mind for more than 5 years.
Yes.
And I said to Anna, I want it set in Kandavu because I'm very familiar with Kandavu. I want it to have aspects in it that reflect daily Kandavu life of a small child. So, for example, eating mangoes, going fishing with Tata. Nana is cooking on a big fire with a big pot. Eating our meal, sitting cross-legged on the floor, mattress on the floor, all those things that are very idiosyncratic of daily Kandavu life. And, there are plenty of stories as well in Fiji that need to be told.
Yes.
So one thing I plan to do as part of the charity is to have more books, do more books like that reflect Fijian life. Put those books in schools in the vernacular. So at the moment, we've just done it in the Bowen dialect. Next step, do 2,000 of these in Kandavu dialect. Get you, Teresi, to translate them and give them to all the schools in Kandavu. Now, this costs money. So any of your Fijian diaspora overseas, keri, please check our website. And if you think this is a good thing for us to do, it costs money. So we need people to boost our bank balance so we can do this. But, there are many stories that need to be told. And that's one thing this charity will do is get stories, Fijian stories told in children's storybooks for Fijian children with Itoke characters, with Indo-Fijian characters, with Chinese Fijian characters. And in the vernacular of where they're from. So it could be in the Ra dialect, Kandavu dialect, the Thithia dialect, any of the dialects. So they're the things I'll do. I mean, I think just by doing what we're doing, promoting literacy and giving books, that equals more Fijian authors.
Yes.
I also think, Teresi, that's already happening. Like there's a number of Instagram sites like This Island Reads, Little Pacifica Reader, that are already doing this. But to be honest, there is a massive gap of Fijian authors. But I think Fiji and Fijians need to get more confident in their voice in a written sense. I think Fijians are hugely confident in Talanoa. And I mean, Fijians have a history of storytelling. You have a history of storytelling older than any Western civilization history. I mean, how many thousands of years have Fijians been sitting around a kava bowl telling stories? I don't know how many thousands of years, but many thousands. So you have that part of it, and it needs to translate into the written word. And I think that will happen as more and more kids become readers and they become more confident. But also Fijians need to feel a sense of confidence and celebration about their culture and their language. And I mean, I'm doing my tiny weeny part for that. You, Teresi, are totally doing that. So the more Fijian culture and language is celebrated and the more literate the people become, the more this will happen.
Yes, absolutely. So, yeah, I think on our behalf of those of us listening and those of the schools that you visited, we just want to acknowledge, your dedication, especially too with the support of Lavinia, helping you in Fiji and encouraging all of us with our teachers. And I can see Miri Hawe, Maramaneta, she's part of the Read to Succeed program that they run every day online and helping our children of all races, our Fiji Indian children, Ratuman, Chinese, Kaiviti, Kailoma. It's just so beautiful. When you're watching a teacher, doing their online reading and all of that, and you see the parents, interacting with the teachers and telling the teachers where they're logging in from, and also you can tell by their names as to who they are and what their ethnicity is. And it's just so beautiful because it brings everyone together. And so you have definitely encouraged many of us to start writing and to value our voice. That's a really good point there, Fiona. You're definitely true. We are really great storytellers, but now it's transferring those storytelling into written form. Yeah, transferring that into written form. It can be done. If the Samoans can do it and the Tongans can do it, Fijians can do it, and we can do it better.
Dina.
Amen. Vinaka vakalevu. Man, this is so good. Vinaka valeu, Fiona. And I can see Lavinia is online too. Vinaka Lavinia. Thanking Lavinia for all her support on the ground in Fiji. I know it's not an easy task, to do sometimes all alone in Fiji. So maybe at this time is to support what you've just said. For many of us who are living in the diaspora, to maybe connect with the Fiji Book Drive, search them online, find their website, and maybe contribute financially if they can be able to send books to your island. So whoever is listening, those of you from Banga, those of you from Yasawa, this is your time. Yeah, if you can all meet maybe as a group, wherever you are, maybe from Sydney or from Melbourne, from California, and connect with Fiona. And through your financial contribution, they can send 20, 30 books to the school of your choice in your province. That will be amazing, eh, Fiona?
Vinaka. I mean, the more the Fijian diaspora get behind us, yes. I've got the will and the determination to do a lot.
Yes.
But, if everybody, contributed, everybody listening now contributed 10 Australian dollars, that would make a difference. Or if they made a commitment, I will contribute $10 a month. And that is what I will do, because so many Fijians, I've noticed this, they feel it's such a strong pull to Fiji and to their village in particular, and they want to help, and they help their village, and I really understand that pull. But it's really important, and this is one advantage of being a Kevalangi, because I don't have a strong association to any village, I can act without fear of favour. Right. And go where the need is. So working hand in hand with Mere from Fiji Library Service, her advice, and then going by what Lavinia, where she surveys, I don't feel like I have to help the same village all the time. I don't have that obligation. But really, if the Fijian diaspora, if we toss a vata, does that mean work hand in hand, yes. Work together, we can truly achieve a lot. So I would love some of the overseas listeners to meet with their fellow Fijians wherever they are and discuss how can we help. The most useful way is not for anyone to say, can I send books from Sydney? No, that's too expensive. Just send the money so we can keep doing what we can doing, and keep in touch, keep engaging with us on social media, keep promoting us. We want to help a lot of Fijian children.
Absolutely. So Vinaka valeu for that. And now I'm coming, I think you've covered a little bit about it on our last question here as to what is the vision of a Fiji Book Drive. What are your plans for the future? And what are some of your additional support that you would like to request from those of the people that are listening? So one is you've already asked for the support from the diaspora, any other comments or advice that you would like to give or request that you'd like to ask. This is your time.
I don't want to give any advice because I like everything to be like a talanoa, an equal exchange of ideas. But to the diaspora, just look up our website, Keri, FIJIbookdrive.org. And please speak to your fellow Fijians. In terms of plans moving forward for Fiji Book Drive, well, there's 738 primary schools in Fiji, so there's a lot of work to be done. We can do a lot with my determination. I mean, ideally, I would like to do 2 shipments a year. I would like to do around 80,000 books a year to schools in Fiji. Now, that would help. Roughly, it's about 1,000 books a school, about 80 schools in a year. But it's about 7,000 Australians to freight them, handling agents, pay Lavinia's wage, all those things. It costs money.
Yes.
Money doesn't grow on trees. It grows from Tosavata, Fijians helping. So I would like to do 2 shipments a year. I would like to do more books in the vernacular, and I will definitely do that. Next step in terms of books, I'd like to get the book that Teresi's translated. I'd like to get it translated into Kendavu dialect, give it to all schools in Kendavu and do a study on that. I'd like to give more big books, which all schools in Fiji are crying out for those in the junior years. I'd like to be able to give more kindergarten resources. We get less of those donated. But I think, I mean, we've helped, and it's very hard to know exactly. It would be more than 5,000 children in Fiji with what we're doing. So I'd like to be able to help maybe 5,000 children a year, something like that. And I'd like to get more business in Fiji involved. So we have the beginnings of a partnership with a hotel. I can't say which one online because it's not quite official, but I would like more support. You know, there is big business in Fiji, Vodafone, Digicel. There is money in Fiji. And by working hand in hand with us, we will filter it down to the grassroots level to those children of farmers in Natasiri that need books. So, you know, that's what I would like. I would like more support from the Fijian business community and more support from the Fijian diaspora. And don't worry, like I'll keep on working even if I have no legs, and levu thombo.
Wow, not a problem. Remember, there's helpers available to carry you around in Fiji. Not a problem at all. We just like to acknowledge the amazing love that you have for the Fijian people. And in this case, we can see that you don't only say that you love Fiji, you actually putting action. You know, it's love in action, as we can see here. So many of the teachers who are commenting here, they just like to say the Vinaka vakalevu, you know, to you, Fiona, for your dedication, because it takes a lot of strength and a lot of love, you know, for the children. And this is a lot with 80, you know, schools a year, and reaching out to about 5,000 children every year through the support. This is amazing. And I'm sure the Fiji Library Services are very grateful for the work that you do.
Oh, Vinaka vakalevu, Teresi. And I have to say, I'm a big fan of what you do. And I'm so delighted to know you. And I'm actually very blessed to do this work in Fiji, even though it is very, very hard. I am dealing with the best people in the world. Don't tell anyone.
Yes, Fiona. Yeah, from all of us, from the best part of the world, the center of the universe. We just wanted to acknowledge you and Lavinia, particularly for all your volunteers that you have in Australia too. Would you like to say hello to them, especially the ones in Australia, and also to Lavinia? She's listening right now.
Bulala. Don't be naughty, La. And to all the volunteers, Vinaka vakalevu, that means thank you in abundance. Thank you so much. You people are incredible, and I love how you all put your kindness into a box for the children of Fiji, and they do feel that love. So Vinaka vakalevu to everyone that is involved. There's a lot of people involved. To send a shipment each year, it's between 300 and 400 people. Like when you count up the donors, when you count up the people, the librarians dropping off books, about 100 volunteers, a lot of businesses. There's a lot of people who will never meet these children who help. So I want to say Vinaka to them.
Wow. And you never know, as you said, you know, some of these children in Netasiri, in Kandavu, in Banga, in Vanolevu, they, you know, dream to become a pilot or a doctor or a teacher, and they will eventually fulfill their dream, I'm sure. But these are the little steps, you know, the hidden hands of love that touch their journey along the way that you are actually, you know, being, you know, you've created through the Fiji Book Drive. That is amazing, Fiona.
Vinaka vakalevu.
I've got a few gratitude messages, if I can read it to you. There's John Ravisa connecting in from the United Emirates in the Middle East. This is what he said. Thank you, Fiona. I remembered when I was teaching in Kandavu, she helped the setting up of the school library in Veitalanoa Primary School. Yes, Vinaka Master John, Vinaka vakalevu, he's connecting in from the United Emirates. He's teaching there now. And there's another one here, Vilikesa Ramanga, Vinaka vakalevu Fiona for your initiative to print more books for reading in Fiji. There are more diaspora from Fiji and Australia. So definitely Vilikesa, yes. Vilikesa is saying that we need to post it up on Facebook page to seek for support from the Fijians in Australia. So I'm glad you're on this platform. So Vilikesa, Chone and Ateda Tingali, they've also asked for your contact as well. So maybe at this point, would you tell one more time the website and the Facebook page and Instagram for our audience to know?
Sure. So the website is www.FIJI-bookdrive.org. On Facebook and social media, we're Fiji Book Drive. And they can easily message me on either Instagram or Facebook. And if they want to have a conversation with me, just message me on either Facebook or Instagram, and then, you know, we can make a call on WhatsApp or something like that.
Wow, that is beautiful. Yeah. So Vilikesa Ramanga, Meron Delana, Choni Tungali, Senian Delana connecting in from New Zealand. So our Kiwis as well are listening in. So this is really encouraging, Fiona. Yeah, would you like to say something?
Full of Kiwis. Yeah. Vinaka Kiwis.
Yeah, see, they're listening too. I think Lesiana Edwards. So there's a lot of them just acknowledging. So maybe at this time, just like to go back to what you said earlier on, thanking the schools that you visited and saying bula to all of them. Wunisei Primary School in Kandavu, Navakandi School as well in Kandavu, and Naveva School. And I know there's a lot of teachers from Kandavu that are listening in. Nimbula Vinaka, Mutumbula Vinaka Mevanua, and the Babini Vinaka Sarchukubana Marama here, or Fiona Luth, or Klani Buka Sarbike Mu, Musa Sotabana Marama Kea, and the Wal Sarchukatu Valley Kandavu, or Babini Vinaka Sarchukubwa, and Nona Sulitu Nonongona. Me mai dono noni tabi, and Nanongui Patavata here. Me wasia chunga kia na nona do sasanga chuko ya tu Vanua. Doner na nona do lomana bale na nona do Vanua me na dolasi. Au kila na bupuda na Vanua wakaturanga na dolasi. Au sa me kena ngusu chiko. Menta babi ni Vinaka be Fiona Luth wakatelanga ke ola binia. Marama telanga ni Kandavu e na non rusuli tu na non rungauna. Men royal njina tekina tu na kena kauya tu na ibola men relevan tekina na ngone me vanua sa ngole tu ya tu na vakanananu kena yalo ni mi masu kena yalo talanga ni bibalo nganga taki ibiken ran na tumbu menra vitoko ni chiko biken ran ngoni ena bimbi ni nonra Willy Bola I kornibuli ni takila chiko na lebu ngani Willy Bola biken ran ngoni na lebu talanga ni eren na buliza ni rongole tu kornibuli na tatama na eren na bulide kornibuli ni na ni ti tombo te tatama talanga non Willy Bola sa dona bibu ke lebu sar chil chuka Fiona the sababi ni Vinaka sar chuka baba na maramakea mino wala ngani la chuka tu kandabu sa da bintani tal chunga ni sa ngole chuka jijia mai lau sa ngole tal chunga na vidana ya sana ibichilevu ni tasiri na sal talanga na mosi sa mikile tal chunga kani sa listalanga mai wanwaliu yan rutsa kera chuka mai mbenga mendona ngona kea menangangan stalanga tu mbenga o Fiona ni sanantola na rarani wangabuka men lista la tu ke viti Vinaka bakalevu sara to you Fiona anything else you'd like to say to our listeners before we finish our talano.
Big love to your listeners, Vinaka and Moroni, Bula Moroni. Big love to you all. Thank you for being such grateful and amazing teachers, and Vinaka vakalevu Teresi for having me on this wonderful platform and letting me participate in this Untitled Vinaka.
Yes, Vinaka vakalevu Fiona, and to all of you listeners who are listening in, thank you so much for your continuing support for Fiji Book Drive. And as Fiona has said, you can go on their website. So if you go FIJIbookdrive.org, and also on social media, they're on Facebook and on Instagram, Fiji Book Drive. So if you want to message Fiona directly, just go into the messaging section of the social media pages and send her a message on how you can be able to support Fiji Book Drive to get the books over to the schools of your choice of where you're from. So any support, financial support, especially for Fiona and Lavinia and her amazing volunteers, we really, really thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Vinaka vakalevu.
Vinaka.
Yes, Mother Fiona, lolomo to you and your family, and take care.
Mother.
Vinaka, Mother Fiona. Yeah, Vinaka vakalevu. Okay, so taking this time to thank Fiona and her family connecting in from Melbourne. They're on lockdown at the moment, but she was able to share her talano with us today, sharing with us her initiative to start the Fiji Book Drive, which is a book initiative that she created herself through her initiative 10 years ago, visiting Fiji and visiting Kandavu in particular, where she got the encouragement to visit the schools and to improve the current situation of the libraries in many of the schools in Fiji. And also thank a lot of the parents, especially the moms that often go to the school and help do painting, weaving, making cushions, and decorating the book corners. So for those silent helpers, Vinaka vakalevu from Fiona and I. Vinaka vakalevu, Lisa Mwademanda. Naka. So Vinaka vakalevu sar salalom sartiani kina delana nukunuku may na United Emirates, Master John Rabisa. Naka vakalevu sar Master nando wito kunchuk mene bata go tamaro sar ni tamerongo de Fiona na signikua. Naka vakalevu Chone Twingali tau vinandu kekim do keda na nungu tau ni samu chukmo Australia au samu itaka ni dana vito kone ni Fiona and nona program ni Fiji Book Drive. Blata na lebu ngani bibu keda na sulebe Fiona and na lebu na ibola na biubata mera tau ikate me biube na container me kau iviti na kornibuli ndo Vinaka me na kau kina na namu ibola and na boleh saranga na kateni na even kornibuli erto na kota saranga na ibale sile si mibiti and na norto bibu ko mera wale sila linga boka and na Fiji Library Services me na kau na kateni bola ndo sa Vinaka ke kando Vinaka me kau ina kornibuli me na adula and na yado ina adula Kando vila kata mea de sabu ena ya de sabu. Ya da maro tak nga vakalevu ni ngol tu vakalevu na maramongo I kandavu. Endo na kai si wata tu vakalevu na lona au kila na yalo. Me vike to mena sauda ya sa maro tak vakalevu ni na nona vike o tak mena sauda sa kalunga tak kira na wonovici. Au sa vakamat sertu kan vakalevu ke uni sa lolong sarani vakalevu enda na kai sota tale ena ngona katarava. Ni mata manda.